Today's episode explores a horrific story of murder and treachery set in Fayetteville, Arkansas in April of 2015. The life of accomplished real estate agent Jonnie Ray Baxter was tragically cut short by someone he most trusted. Living in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Jonnie Ray Baxter was 45 years old. Working for a small business called Ozark Realty, he was a well-known real estate agent. Jonnie Ray was affable and had a great smile, which helped him to be well-liked among co-workers and clients. Having earned his degree in business administration from the University of Arkansas, he had worked in real estate for more than 20 years. Jonnie Ray was wed to Darlene Baxter. Darlene and Jonnie Ray looked to be a content couple. Jonnie Ray was Darlene's second husband. Lily Adams, his stepdaughter, was 18 and a first-year student at the University of Arkansas studying psychology. From what the outside world could tell, Jonnie Ray got along with Lily. Beyond the office, Jonnie Ray enjoyed sailing. Often seen on Beaver Lake, he owned a little sailboat called Dreamcatcher. Spending weekends on the lake, he delighted in feeling the waves and the breeze. His buddies at the nearby marina recalled him as someone who was always eager to offer a helping hand and chuckle along. Jonnie Ray was occupied in the days before his death with a large real estate transaction. Closing a transaction on a sizable commercial property in downtown Fayetteville, he was working hard. In his career, this contract was quite significant. He also had Darlene scheduled a surprise anniversary trip. He got passes to see a performance in Little Rock and reserved a cabin in the Ozark Mountains. As a gift for Darlene, he even selected a particular necklace from Sissy's Log Cabin, a nearby jeweler's store. Jonnie Ray scheduled a busy life, but he made time every morning to visit the neighborhood coffee shop, our Sagas. He delighted in reading the newspaper and talking with the baristas. His go-to beverage was caramel latte. 2 days before his death, on April 10, 2015, Jonnie Ray was seen at our Sagas chatting and grinning about his weekend plans. About the future, he appeared delighted and enthusiastic. On the exterior, Jonnie Ray's life appeared ideal, but he harbored secret problems. Darlene, his wife, had lately been behaving under stress and anxiety. She was dubious of Jonnie Ray's late-night work sessions and observed changes in their daughter, Lily. The strain at the Baxter house was beginning to show up in neighbors' observations. Friends about 7:30 a.m. on April 12, 2015, Jonnie Ray Baxter's body was found. Michael Everly, a neighbor, came upon him. Living next to the Baxters, Michael was a 52-year-old former schoolteacher. Concerned since she hadn't heard from Jonnie Ray since last night, Darlene had phoned Michael. She requested Michael to look after her husband. She was out of town seeing her sister. When Michael knocked on the Baxter house door, he received no response. He chose to test the door as he saw Jonnie Ray's car in the driveway. To his astonishment, it opened. He sensed something was awry as soon he entered. The house was quite peaceful. Michael cried out for Jonnie Ray but got no reply. He headed from the living area into the kitchen, where he discovered broken glass on the floor and evidence of a scuffle among overturned chairs. He trailed the anarchy to the master bedroom. He opened the door and saw a graphic scene. Laying on the floor in a pool of blood, Jonnie Ray had been bludgeoned to death with a hammer, which was close by soaked in blood. Blood splatters on the walls and furnishings scattered the room. Jonnie Ray clearly had battled for his life. Michael's hands shook and he quickly turned from the room, scared. His voice shaking as he detailed what he had discovered. He grabbed his cell phone and dialed 911, asking him to remain on the line until the cops arrived. The 911 operator sought to soothe him. The word of Jonnie Ray's passing went right across the community. Police cars soon crowded Maple Street, and inquisitive neighbors stood outside chatting among each other about the startling event. By midday, local news outlets including KSM and KN2A had reporters covering the situation. Fayetteville's leading news source was then years of friendship between Michael and Jonnie Ray had left him in shock. He had never imagined his friend and neighbor killed in such a violent way. Later on, he informed reporters that Jonnie Ray was a wonderful man who did not merit such a horrible end. Finding Jonnie Ray Baxter's body signaled the start of a convoluted and sad inquiry. one that would reveal secrets and expose startling information about people closest to him. Shortly following Michael Everly's 911 call on April 12, 2015, the police arrived at the Baxter house. Securing the area right away, the first police on the site made sure nobody entered or left the residence. Detective Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey and James Carter showed up shortly after to head the inquiry. Sharp intelligence and attention to detail were hallmarks of Detective Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey. At 38 years old, she had handled several challenging problems. Detective James Carter, her boyfriend, was 42 and distinguished by his thorough attitude. They formed a formidable team taken together. Signs of a struggle caught the detectives as they toured the house. Broken glass and overturned furniture in the main room. Dishware strewn on the floor in the kitchen reflected additional anarchy. They came into a horrific scene in the main bedroom. Lay on the floor, Jonnie Ray Baxter surrounded by a pool of blood. Covering in blood, the hammer he had been bludgeoned to death lay close by. Blood spilt on the walls and furniture highlighted the attack's severity. Ordering it to be bagged as evidence, Detective Mitchell-Kinsey identified the hammer as the murder weapon. The crime scene unsettled and disorganized. The forensic team and cops gathered samples and shot many pictures. Carefully picking objects with gloves, they ensured not to taint any evidence. Collected and forwarded to the lab for study were blood samples, fingerprints, and the hammer. Neighbors outside observed the cops operate. Additionally covering the startling murder were the local news outlets, KFSM and KNUA. Neighbors who spoke with reporters said Jonnie Ray was a kind and well-liked guy. The media coverage increased pressure to crack the case fast. Michael Everly, still traumatized over finding the dead, was asked questions by detectives Mitchell-Kinsey and Carter. He said he found the house messy and the door unlocked. His thorough report enabled the investigators to put the incidents preceding the murder together. Though they had a lot of evidence by the end of the day, the police still had many questions. Anyone could have carried out such a terrible deed? Why may someone wish to murder Jonnie Ray? Though they knew their case would be challenging, the detectives were resolved to solve it. Darlene Baxter, Jonnie Ray Baxter's wife, was the first suspect considered in his murder. Darlene, at 34, worked for Razorback Accounting, a nearby company, as an accountant. She was smart, exacting, and diligent. Darlene had a challenging past. At 16, she started her motherhood and worked as a stripper to help her kid Lily. Notwithstanding these obstacles, she developed a thriving career and was well known for her strong will. Darlene has lately observed changes in her daughter Lily's behavior and started to question Jonnie Ray's late-night work sessions. Friends and neighbors said Darlene was on edge and more stressed in the weeks before the murder. Some claimed they heard disputes between her and Jonnie Ray. April 13, 2015 saw detectives Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey and James Carter bring Darlene in for interrogation. Darlene seemed cool yet obviously upset. She insisted that she had been out from town seeing her Little Rock sister Nancy. She sent pictures and text messages bolstering her alibi, but the cops still had questions. Darlene talked on her relationship with Jonnie Ray during the questioning. She acknowledged that lately they had been fighting more, mostly about his work and the length of time he spent away from home. Denying any role in his murder, she insisted she loved her husband despite their difficulties. Inquiring about the murder night, the cops quizzed Darlene. She said she had left for Little Rock on April 11th afternoon and stayed with Nancy until April 12th's early morning. Nancy verified this when the investigators phoned her. It couldn't, however, overlook the conflict in Darlene's voice as she spoke Jonnie Ray and the changes Lily had observed. Additionally, looking for any evidence, the cops checked Darlene's car and possessions. Although investigators discovered nothing specifically connecting her to the crime, they did come upon a diary in which Darlene had recorded her doubts and frustrations. These entries depicted a woman in great emotional upheaval and stress. Darlene stayed a major suspect even with her alibi. Interviewing acquaintances, relatives, and co-workers, the detectives kept researching her past. They sought a motive or any information tying her to the crime. As the inquiry went on, Darlene felt more and more under strain, but she stayed clear in her innocence. Though many questions still remained unresolved, Darlene Baxter's research was exhaustive. The investigators understood they had to keep searching to find the truth about Jonnie Ray's horrific death. Lily Adams, Jonnie Ray Baxter's stepdaughter, was the second suspect investigated in his murder. Lily was a psychology student at the University of Arkansas, a freshman 18 years old. Her gregarious and friendly nature was well known. Her acquaintances said she was brilliant and driven, constantly eager to pick up fresh skills. Lily had a mixed connection with Jonnie Ray, her stepfather. The research uncovered up evidence that their relationship had developed into a covert affair. Given the toll this romance took on her mother, Darlene, Lily felt conflicted and guilty. On April 14, 2015, Lily was brought in for interrogation by detectives Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey and James Carter. Lily seemed tense yet also helpful. She acknowledged her affair with Jonnie Ray, saying it had begun roughly 6 months ago. She said Jonnie Ray had been there for her. She had been feeling confused and alone. She maintained she never wanted to cause anyone pain. Lily revealed throughout the questioning how she had felt guilty and told a close friend about the affair. Confirming Lily's account for the detectives, this friend, whose name was withheld, said Lily related the evening before Jonnie Ray's death, the final time she saw him. They had debated the affair and its effects on their family, she added. Lily was questioned by the detectives about her location on the murder night. Lily stated she had been preparing for a midterm exam at a friend's house. Lily had stayed there till early morning hours of April 12th. Her buddy verified this alibi. The cops were dubious of Lily's emotional upheaval even with the alibi. The cops also looked for any proof in Lily's things and dorm room. Though they discovered multiple letters and messages between her and Jonnie Ray, they found nothing specifically tying her to the murder. These notes captured the emotional conflicts they both experienced as well as the depth of their love. Lily remained a major suspect despite her alibi and the absence of direct evidence because of the affair and the emotional conflict it generated. Seeking any contradictions or fresh clues, the police kept interviewing her acquaintances and classmates. Lily felt more under strain as the inquiry went on, but she said she was innocent and showed great regret for the event. Though the inquiry into Lily Adams was exhaustive, the investigators still had a lot of questions. They understood they had to keep searching for the truth behind Jonnie Ray Baxter's terrible death. 5 days following Jonnie Ray Baxter's murder, on April 17, 2015, the police got a major case break. A jogger found an odd object at the park close to Beaver Lake one cool, misty morning. He came upon a plastic bag half buried under some leaves close to a bench. Investigating, he opened it and discovered gloves and a blood-stained shirt. He phoned the cops right away, and in minutes Tom Martinez and Karen Lewis, a patrol officer, showed up at the scene. They locked down the area and summoned in James Carter and Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey. The investigators evaluated the scene fast and bagged the objects for forensic examination. Though wary, the investigators hoped this fresh information might offer a case-opening revelation. They returned the objects to the forensic lab housed at Fayetteville Police Department. Apart from the gloves having fingerprints different from Jonnie Ray's, forensic experts discovered that the blood on the shirt matched his DNA. This fresh data turned the research's emphasis to another. The investigators went over their list of suspects again and looked at their alibis. They also went over the park and surrounding area surveillance footage. Their thorough research turned out an unexpected result. Late on the night of the murder, someone matching Lily Adams's description entered the park. Detectives Mitchell-Kinsey and Carter brought Lily in for another round of inquiries. Lily looked much more anxious this time. She said she had no idea about the bloody objects. She went to the park to help her head clear. The investigators prodded her for further specifics, but Lily stayed to her story, though gingerly. As the forensic team kept looking, they came upon still another crucial piece of evidence. Hair fibers on the gloves that matched Darlene Baxter's DNA revealed the likely involvement of mother and daughter, therefore complicating the case even further. The detectives contacted Darlene back for interrogation on April 18, 2015. When shown the fresh data, she appeared calm yet worried. Darlene said she had nothing to do with the murder even though she knew about the gloves. She claimed she had worn the gloves while working in the garden and couldn't understand how they got near Beaver Lake. Now more determined than ever to crack the case were the cops. Though they had to carefully piece together the last puzzle, they realized they were almost at revealing the truth. A turning point in the inquiry, the discovery of the fresh data offered vital clues and sharpened the hunt for Jonnie Ray Baxter's killer. Hey true crime solvers! Please like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoy more real-life murder mysteries. And do you have any ideas on this case or have a case of your own you would like us to look at? Comment on this. Stay safe. Real crime. The unrevealed tales. Diddy Baxter, Jonnie Ray Baxter's ex-wife, was the third suspected killer of him. 46-year-old Diddy was known for her fiery and hot-blooded demeanor. She had a sour relationship with Jonnie Ray and had never approved of his marriage to Darlene. Living in Fayetteville, Diddy worked as manager of Hart's Food Stores, a nearby grocery business. On April 19, 2015, Detectives Sarah Mitchell Kinsey and James Carter decided to bring Diddy in for interrogation. Arriving at the police station, Diddy seemed stubborn and unresponsive. She was known for not holding back her ideas and for speaking her truth. Diddy said under interrogation that her connection with Jonnie Ray was tense. She said of their marriage it was turbulent and rife in conflict. Diddy said she hated Darlene, labeling her a homewrecker and blaming her for ending her marriage. Diddy angrily denied, nevertheless, any role in Jonnie Ray's murder. On April 11, 2015, the cops questioned Diddy on her location on that evening. Diddy said she was at home drinking wine and watching TV. She said going to bed early and viewing a Dancing with the Stars episode. The detectives became dubious as no witnesses could verify her alibi. Diddy's house was searched by police looking for any proof connecting her to the incident. Among the things of interest they discovered were a set of garden gloves akin to those seen in the park. Forensic investigation revealed, nonetheless, no blood or DNA on these gloves. The cops kept looking at Diddy's possible motive even with her alibi and little solid proof. They found that Diddy had lately found out about Jonnie Ray's affair with Lily, which created still another level of conflict and perhaps wrath. Friends and colleagues informed the investigators Diddy had been especially agitated over the affair, calling Jonnie Ray a disgrace and venting her wrath to anybody who would listen. The detectives also spoke with Diddy's neighbors, who claimed to have heard loud disputes emanating from her residence in the days preceding the death. Mrs. Everly, one neighbor, claimed to have heard Diddy screaming about lying and treachery. Diddy stayed the suspect, but the investigators struggled to compile enough proof to accuse her. She insisted her innocence even though she was hostile during the questioning. The investigators understood they required more hard evidence to connect her to the crime. The inquiry into Diddy Baxter gave the case still another level of intricacy as the investigators labored nonstop to put the events behind Jonnie Ray's murder together. The resolution of Jonnie Ray Baxter's murder case at last arrived on April 21, 2015. Days of research turned out a vital piece of evidence for detectives Sarah Mitchell Kinsey and James Carter. Late on the evening of the murder, Darlene Baxter was seen driving towards Beaver Lake on a surveillance video from a local petrol station. Darlene's alibi ran counter to this major lead. Mitchell Kinsey and Carter, detectives, gave the video great attention. It displayed Darlene's blue Honda Civic driving past the petrol station about 11:30 p.m., about April 11th. This positioned her right at the crime scene at the pivotal moment. The police felt sure they had identified Jonnie Ray's killer with this fresh data. Early on April 22, 2015, the cops showed up at Razorback Accounting, Darlene Baxter's employer. The local news outlets, including KFSM and KNWA, were already covering the most recent updates in the case on this sunny day. Darlene was in her workplace when the cops arrived. She seemed startled but stayed calm when they told her she had been arrested for killing her spouse. Darlene maintained her innocence while being allowed out in handcuffs, but the data against her was indisputable. Darlene had gone into a furious fit over the affair between Jonnie Ray and Lily. Both her daughter and her spouse greatly disappointed her. Darlene confronted Jonnie Ray, according to the cops, on the evening of the murder. Darlene took a hammer and fatally struck him several times as the confrontation turned violent. Darlene's detention stunned the neighborhood. Friends and neighbors couldn't believe the clever, diligent woman they knew could commit such a horrific deed. Headlines in the Fayetteville Observer and features on local TV stations covering the arrest helped the word travel fast. The relatives of Jonnie Ray got conflicting responses. While some were distraught by the treachery, others were happy the killer had been apprehended. Lily was especially devastated. In a few days she had lost her mother as well as her stepfather. The family suffered great emotional toll as well. Darlene was disputing her role while she was being driven to the police station. Still, the detectives felt sure their conclusions were accurate. Together with the forensic evidence and Darlene's contradicting remarks, the surveillance footage clearly showed her guilt. The terrible tragedies caused the Fayetteville community to struggle. The death of Jonnie Ray Baxter exposed serious family secrets and affected people who knew him profoundly. The case had been solved by the police, but emotional wounds would take far more time to mend. Beginning on July 15, 2015, at the Washington County Courthouse in Fayetteville, Darlene Baxter was on trial for murder of her husband, Jonnie Ray Baxter. Along with worried community members, the courtroom was crowded with reporters from local news outlets including KSSM and KNOA. District Attorney Robert Stevens, 45-year-old with a reputation for being rigorous and unrelenting in the courtroom, headed the prosecution. Darlene's revelation of the affair between Jonnie Ray and Lily motivated her murder, he said. Stevens created an image of a lady driven to her breaking point by emotional upheaval and betrayal. He showed the forensic evidence from the crime scene, the surveillance film of Darlene's car close to Beaver Lake, and her contradicting answers to the police. Conversely, attorney Michelle Williams, 39-year-old noted for her cool head and keen legal sense, led the defense. She said Darlene was innocent and the proof was circumstantial. Williams said that someone else might have killed the victim, maybe in jealousy or resentment. He called into doubt the accuracy of the security video and noted that Darlene had not been witnessed committing the crime by anyone. Jonnie Ray's family sat in the front row throughout the trial, observing the events with a mix of grief and rage. Lily particularly battled the emotional weight of the trial. She lost her stepfather and now might lose her mother to a protracted jail sentence. Following 2 weeks of testimony, the jury debated 3 days before rendering a decision. August 3, 2015 saw Darlene Baxter found guilty of first-degree murder by the jury. As the decision was announced, the courtroom became charged. Darlene displayed no feeling, while Jonnie Ray's relatives hugged and wailed. The local news broke the result right away, and the Fayetteville Observer covered the story extensively. Judge Lisa Everly condemned Darlene to life in prison without parole's possibility. She said the evidence unequivocally demonstrated Darlene's guilt and that strong personal betrayal and resentment led to the crime. The judge hoped the sentencing would bring some sort of closure and showed sympathy for Jonnie Ray's family. There was mixed response to the decision. While some in the community felt the penalty was overly severe, others thought justice had been done. Given Darlene's troubled past and the strain she was under, Jonnie Ray's family, however, felt relief that the ordeal was done and that the individual culpable for his death was identified. For the Baxter family and the Fayetteville community, the trial and sentence signaled the end of a terrible chapter. Although the murder and its aftermath caused great emotional scars, the decision offered a sense of justice and a road towards recovery. For many engaged in Jonnie Ray Baxter's sad murder case, life gradually started to return to normal following Darlene Baxter's conviction and sentence. Now doing her time at the Arkansas Department of Correction, Darlene's life became a monotonous pattern. She had few visits from relatives and friends, and her everyday activities were under close control. News items and activities in Fayetteville, including the annual motorcycles, blues and barbecue motorbike gathering, progressively supplanted the media coverage around the trial. Now 19, Lily Adams went back to the University of Arkansas to finish her psychology coursework. Over her part in the affair that finally resulted in the death of her stepfather, she battled remorse and bereavement. Lily worked hard to reestablish ties with her family and sought counseling to assist her negotiate the emotional fallout. She turned away media coverage and concentrated on her academics and volunteer work at neighborhood animal shelters. Detective Sarah Mitchell-Kinsey, meantime, got accolades for helping to crack the well-publicized case. She carried on working for the Fayetteville Police Department, coaching younger investigators and looking at other crimes. Detective James Carter moved to the Northwest Arkansas Drug Task Force, where he used his investigative talents to fight drug-related offenses in the area. The murder of Jonnie Ray stayed with the Fayetteville community. Friends and neighbors recalled him as a kind, successful real estate agent who enjoyed boating Beaver Lake. In his honor, the local Rotary Club hosted a memorial service. A plaque honoring his life and services to the community was placed at the Fayetteville Town Center. Each other's company and support helped Jonnie Ray's family, especially his first wife Diddy, find comfort. Diddy concentrated on her work at Hart's food stores and started helping local charitable events including Bentonville's Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure. She stayed alert about keeping her family close and helping her grandchildren, who missed their stepfather greatly. Though the memory of the terrible events of April 2015 stayed a part of Fayetteville's history, the scars left by Jonnie Ray's death started to heal with time. Supporting and understanding the Baxter family as they progressed from the trauma, the community came together. This sad example of love, treachery, and murder reminds us sharply of the complexity of human relationships and the terrible results of unbridled emotions. We appreciate you joining us on this true crime episode featuring the unexposed stories. Keep tuned for more tales delving into the darkest sides of human nature.